everybody. Welcome back to another one of my monthly forecasts. If this is the first time you're seeing me, my name is Angela Peterson and I am a psychic medium and shamanic practitioner in Sedona, Arizona. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And speaking of the new year, I want to talk about this year a little bit coming up before we get into the monthly forecast of January. If you've been watching my videos for a while now, then you will have seen that I have definitely been saying over and over that we are heading into a year of really big changes. We're entering into a new era, and because of that, there are going to be a lot of changes that come along with that. Now, the more that we, of course, resist those changes, the harder our lives will be during the transition time. If we are much more on board with the changes that need to happen, with the direction we're heading as a collective, then everything will go much smoother. So looking forward to 2025, for a while now, I've been seeing that 2025 looks kind of like the dark tunnel that we have to walk through in order to get to the light, which, as far as I can tell, is 2026. Maybe the end of 2025 and then into 2026. I feel like the overall theme for 2025 is two things, actually. I think one is healing and one is change, and they tend to go right along with each other. This is a year that you're going to become aware of things or parts within yourself that you have not been aware of before. You're also going to become aware of things outside of yourself that you may not have been aware of before as well. This is a year of reveal, and not just in the world, but in ourselves. It does feel like a challenging aspect. And I think that's the dense energy that I've been feeling moving through 2025. But it feels very necessary. Like it's the kind of denseness that we have to get through. It's the tunnel we have to walk through in order to get to the other side that we have been wanting to get to. I think that anything that's in the way of, peace and harmony and love and joy and anything like that in your own life, the things that are not working in your life, I'm sure all of you have already noticed. The things you're not changing that need to change just feel like they're getting worse. They feel like they're getting heavier. And that's going to be the case. It's going to continue to do that until you full on make the big change that you need to make. So this year might be a year also that has a lot to do with taking some leaps of faith. Making big changes. Big changes, I feel, that are more authentic, that bring in more authenticity for us as individuals, are the changes that are required this year to get through to the other side. Some of these large changes that could be happening in any one of your lives, it could be that you're moving. You might be moving out of state. You might be moving to another country, potentially. You could be leaving a relationship that you've been in for a really long time. You could be entering into a new relationship with somebody that you never would have expected to be in a relationship with. You could be letting go of friend groups and gaining new friends. Any number of changes. You could be ending a career that you've been in for years and either entering into something completely different or no longer having a career and retiring. But this year just feels like big change, like the big turnover. And it can show up in any of the ways I just mentioned and in various ways that I haven't. All right, so let's look at the month of January and what the overall energies are that we can expect for January. January feels like a month of maybe discovering within yourself some strength or resiliency that you didn't know that you had. It feels like a really passionate month. Those passions could show up in many different ways. Passions could show up in anger, resentment, frustrations, or irritations, but passions could also show up in a very creative sense of feeling the fire burning within you again toward a creative project that you've been wanting to work on. The fire could be lit between you and another person. Passions could be high when it comes to sexuality. Either way, this month does have some fire to it. So how that fire is expressed is going to be entirely up to you. It feels like a good month to really become clear about certain things and like the way that you feel and what you want to express to somebody. You just need to be careful that you don't light them on fire with your words. Instead of becoming like a raging inferno that's just spewing all over the place, you need to be able to direct the fire in a way that is healthy for you and for other people. It could be that people are experiencing anger about the state of the world, the state of their lives even. Frustrations are high right now, definitely because of the energies that are coming up and that have been coming up. Mars, I believe, is in retrograde through the end of January, or almost to the end of January. And so Mars being retrograde can potentially bring some fire up in people. So it can create the energy of anger and people really wanting to express that anger in a very potent way. So just be careful with that this month. There does seem to be a feeling of like confidence or just like an energy boost kind of coming in. It's either coming in or maybe it's needed in some capacity. The animal that we have showing up for the month of January is the cat spirit, and the cat spirit says, claim your independence. Cat medicine represents owning your personal power, and there is a really healthy way to own our personal power. Often when we feel like we are powerless, it can create those feelings of frustration or create those feelings of anger, and it can make us want to hurt other people or take power from them because we feel powerless. We need to be very mindful of the parts within us this month that do feel like they're powerless, that maybe are feeling a bit helpless or hopeless. Not everybody will be feeling that way. Some people will be feeling the sense of power in a really healthy way, and then others will be struggling with the feeling of powerlessness because that feeling is coming up so that you can claim your true power. And true power says, I am safe. I'm safe within myself. It doesn't feel threatened by everything outside of it. True power says, I am responsible for my own life. I take accountability for myself and the creation of my life and my life circumstances. And I feel capable in doing so. And so if you're struggling with that, then you need to look at those feelings of powerlessness and allow yourself to express that in a healing capacity, maybe going to nature and having a big emotional release that can help you then tune back into spirit again. This month feels like a little bit of a challenge when it comes to our beliefs, our belief system. If we have very strong judgments around things that are like black and white, it feels like this month will be challenging those. So having moved into a new era, the beginning of this era may start out a little bit rocky. These first 3 months or so can be a little unstable, or at least they can feel like they are unstable. And you might have stuff coming up within yourself that you're really having to work through around some of these changes that are happening. Now, what is again required of us is to really step into our own personal leadership. So with the cat spirit showing up with claim your independence, that really means that you need to take accountability for your own life and be the leader that you wish to see. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. You don't have to live your life in a way that you don't want to live it. And becoming aware of that fact, like in any area that you're feeling powerless, is going to be really important this month. We have another animal spirit coming out, and it's the armadillo spirit. So this one says to set healthy boundaries. This feels like setting healthy boundaries with ourselves just as much as it feels like setting healthy boundaries with others. It's also about recognizing where you need boundaries and what kind of protection you need. And it's interesting that the armadillo came out because we also did get the protection card. So this is really interesting that we sort of have protection coming out twice. I think that it's going to be really important for us to be mindful of the energies that we're surrounding ourselves by this month, because if there are people that are in out of balance fire energy, or really out of balance anything that would be coming at you, then it's really important for you to be aware of that and to set healthy boundaries with the toxicity in your life. In some ways, it feels like some of you are still trying to come out the other side of some things. I'm still feeling that pressure that I felt in December time, the pressure of like, I'm still trying to get through that birth canal. There still feels like that pressure is there, and maybe even getting a little more intense for some of you. For some of you, it may have already opened up, But for others, I feel like it could be getting a little more intense and before that opening happens. It could be that some of you are resisting it, that you might be resisting the surrender process or the letting go of certain things and making certain changes in your lives. And if that's the case, the pressure is just going to keep getting worse until you do finally surrender, and then it will open itself up. There's also a feeling of maybe trying to push too hard or trying to break through obstacles instead of just being like, you know what, okay, maybe now's not the time to fully break through that barrier. Maybe I just need to surrender and allow it to happen in its own time, because it does feel like right now there is kind of a collective energy that says, don't push, don't try to do, especially if you are meeting any obstacles or barriers with that. Now is not the time to force anything. Now is the time to allow it to happen in its own time and to surrender the outcome. With Mars being in retrograde, it is incapacitated right now, which is it's the masculine energy. It's the action taker, it's the doer. And so especially if you have Mars as your ruling planet, like in Aries, which I do, then you're going to want to be careful not to try to force things or push through, because you will probably definitely feel anger and frustration and all of those emotions while still not being able to fully break through, because you need to just let yourself be where you're at right now and allow the next steps to come in more in like a fluid energy. And it will break through, and it will probably do so by springtime. Honestly, springtime feels like it feels like quite a boost. It feels, as of right now, is looking brighter than January. So right now, just breathe. Allow yourself to slip through the birth canal instead of trying to force your way out. I also really want you to pay attention to the areas of your life that you are coming up against those barriers or those blocks, because sometimes there's a message there for you in that that you really need to pay attention to. That message could mean that's not the right direction and that you actually need to go in a different direction that will benefit you even more. It might be that there's something you need to change about this job or this relationship or this living situation. Whatever it is, pay attention this month to the blocks and the barriers that are coming up, because they may be messengers about a different path that is opening that you need to take instead. It feels like if you have to force something this month, it's either not the right time or it's not the right direction. So listen instead, and anything that is flowing and that's coming to you naturally, that's the direction you want to go. And you will feel so much more empowered as a result by doing that instead of trying to force something that isn't working. So that is all I have for you for the month of January. I hope that you all have an amazing month and that your month starts off in a very beautiful, graceful, and ease-filled way. Take care.